What's going on, everybody? This is Brian Mazik, aka Franchise Play, back with another episode of Ask FP. And this is the 99th episode of Ask FP, which means next week is the 100th episode. Should be special. I'm going to do something. I'm going to shave the whole nine. I've been working so hard, man, over the past week. I ain't had a chance to shave. I ain't had a chance to do none of that, right? So I got some stuff that I need to hit before we jump into the questions. You guys already see the title of the video, who is the greatest Olympian of all time? And I will definitely give you my opinion on that. But first and foremost, let's talk about something I'm very grateful for, very happy it took place. Last night, I got an email from Twitter saying that I was verified. You know, the little blue check. You know what I'm saying? I appreciated that. That was good business. You know, they trying to put some respect on my name. I'm with you. I'm down. So I really am grateful for that. I'm just super grateful for any and everything that comes my way, even positive and negative. You know, because I believe words say you count it all as blessings. You know, even the lessons. So I am, like I said, just very blessed and very grateful. So that is one thing. And anybody who is not yet following me on Twitter, which, you know, this show that I'm doing here is the whole podcast is based off of Twitter. That's how you get the questions in, at Unique Mazik on Twitter. Mazik is spelled very similar to Unique, Mazique. You should see it even with the name of the channel. So yeah, and also the Twitter handle or the Twitter link is on my YouTube channel, and I'll direct you there in a second. So if you don't follow me yet on Twitter, please do. And that's the way you'll be able to get an opportunity to shoot me questions and that sort of thing. And I'll be able to see them and respond. Another thing. Now, I had mentioned somebody reached out to me today, and it might have been last night, and they were like, "Oh man, I missed the cutoff for the questions because I always stop questions sometime the early afternoon or late morning on Monday, cut it off so I can go ahead and hit the get my answers and everything together for the show. But I am adding another layer to this whole Ask FP QA situation. And that layer is going to actually take place on Forbes. So for anybody that doesn't know, I write for Forbes as well. And so what I'm going to do is you continue to ask me the questions the same way you always have. Ask FP, nothing different. And what I will do is I'm going to take 3 questions every week, starting this week. And I'm going to actually embed your tweet on within an article. And I'm going to treat it as a mailbag. So it's a similar concept to this, but I'm going to with 3 Twitter questions, and I'm going to answer those Twitter questions. Instead of answering them here, I'm going to answer those 3, and it'll be different questions every week. I'm going to answer those 3 on Twitter. So, on Forbes. So you'll see your tweet and the whole 9 in a Forbes article. And I just felt like it was a better opportunity or another opportunity to get, you know, my community and my responses to my community out to another audience. Maybe some people don't actually watch the YouTube videos, that so and so forth. And so this is a whole nother audience for me to touch, as well as for you guys to, you know, to be able to be somewhat visible in front of as well. So this is going to start on every Friday. You'll see that post. So it won't have anything to do with Ask FP. Ask FP is still going to be every Tuesday at 6 Central, 7 Eastern time. 4 o'clock Pacific time. So that's not going to change. That's still going to be in place. But there will be 3 additional questions that I answer within the Forbes article on Fridays. And you can look for that article to go up every Friday morning at 8, unless something happens. But for the most part, 8 a.m. Central time on Friday morning. And obviously it'll be there throughout the day forever on for you to see. So let's see, what else do we have? I am working on my Madden review. Actually, it's going to go up at about 5 o'clock in the morning. That's 5 o'clock in the morning Central time, 6 o'clock in the morning Eastern time. That's when the embargo lifts. I've had the game for, I want to say maybe a week, maybe a little over a week. And so I put in some good amount of time in it. I'm not going to talk about, what I think of it or anything like that yet. That'll all be in the review. There's going to be a video review as well as a written review on Forbes. So whichever way you like to check it out, feel free to go ahead and do it. It'll be, all of it is going to get basically tweeted out if you follow me on Twitter, and if you are subscribed on YouTube, which you probably are if you're watching this, you'll see the notification. So whichever way you want to absorb it, you can. There'll also be a couple other just videos of gameplay and that sort of thing of Madden that drops at the exact same time. And I have a couple companion pieces. I like to use that term. I don't know why. Coming out about Madden as well. Some tips and strategy stuff that I kind of worked on. I put in a good amount of time on this Madden, and also a kind of a list of things I think you should do when you first get the game, or within the first week of having a game. So there's going to be an article on that too. Let's see, what else do we have? WWE 2K17. I'm going to have some hands-on experience with that coming up this weekend. I am going to SummerSlam. Every year at SummerSlam is when the first real huge reveal of a lot of the stuff starts to come out. A lot of media people will be there with me, getting hands-on experience with the game. So look for me to do a write-up on that, as well as some other information coming out about the game. We're already in our third week of the roster reveal. The roster is already up to like 84 wrestlers. If you follow me on Twitter, I've put out articles talking about that each week. What else do we have? I'm not sure when the embargo is going to be for the WWE 2K17 stuff, so I'll be able to tell you guys a little bit more about that probably next week. And I'm sorry, one more thing. I'm working also on a Formula One 2016 review. Haven't had a chance to put in as much time on that one as I have with Madden, so that review is still some days off, because I want to make sure I give it the sufficient amount of time, or enough time to be able to really do a review on it. So look forward to that when it's done. Last but not least, I haven't ever done this before, so I decided, we're kind of watching some other people with some podcasts and YouTube channels, and I'm looking at some of my peers, and I decided I was going to go ahead and do it. And I'm going to throw it out there and let you guys know. It's about donations. So donations are never, ever going to be expected. I'll never expect anyone to donate to me, but they will always be appreciated if you choose to do that via PayPal. And I'm going to show you how you can do it. Basically, you just go on my channel. I didn't make it a huge blurb or anything like that, but if you go on my channel here, as you can see, and you click here, right in this area where it says, where I have the cursor at, hopefully you guys can see the cursor, the PayPal logo. You just click that, it'll basically, let me see if I can make sure I can get it for you guys. If you just click this where it has donations, it'll take you to the page where you can put in whatever amount, quarters, nickels, dimes, food stamps, bus tokens, whatever you got. I would absolutely appreciate it. It's not, like I said, it's never expected, but always appreciated if you find it to do it out of the kindness of your heart. I've been real funny about asking for that or saying that, but I figured I'd throw it on out there. All right, I am sorry. Normally it does not take me this long to get to the question of the week, but I said a lot of times I have business that I can take care of and address my community and tell them about some stuff, and I usually don't use that time quite as well as I'd like to. So tried to do that this time. Without further ado, let's get down to the question of the week, and this one comes from, let's go back here, comes from my man Jared Young. Jared Young is a prolific Ask FPer, y'all, and he says quite simply, who do you think is the greatest Olympian of all time? Now, there's a lot of different candidates out there, depending on what you take into consideration. Jesse Owens, based off of his amazing performance in Berlin in front of Hitler, facing all types of racism and other impediments, and not to mention just the world-class competition. he's definitely in the conversation. Usain Bolt is in the conversation. He's the greatest sprinter of all time. Nadia Comaneci, you got Mark Spitz, you got, just Rayford Johnson, you got Jim Thorpe, you got all kinds of people, right? But if we're really keeping it real and keeping it simple down to who winners and losers and that sort of thing, it's got to be Michael Phelps, yo. It's got to be Michael Phelps. I mean, 28 medals, 23 gold medals, 3 silvers, 2 bronze. At the end of the day, it's about winning, and nobody wins like Michael Phelps. So he's got to be the greatest Olympian of all time. He may not be your favorite, but he's the best. It's got to be the best, right? All right, our next question also comes from Jared Young. And Jared Young this time asked, do you think the CP3 will stay in Los Angeles when his contract is up next season? I do. I think he stays in Los Angeles no matter where he goes. I mean, whether it's the Lakers, whether it's staying with the Clippers, I do think he stays in Los Angeles. I mean, I know a lot of people feel like as soon as he gets a chance, he's going to go and join the Banana Boat crew. And I think that's definitely a possibility if he, Melo, Dwayne Wade, or LeBron can find a city that all of them can agree they would be willing to play in. And then, of course, that team puts themselves in the position from a cap standpoint to be able to afford the guys. I definitely think that could happen, but I think it's very possible it could happen in Los Angeles. Why couldn't it happen in Los Angeles? So I just think that he ends up staying where he is. But I mean, if this was a confidence pool, I wouldn't put a great deal on it because I'm not sure. But if you ask me today what I think, and I'd have to go that route. Next question comes from Weston Flores. And Weston Flores says, will robots replace athletes in the future? I mean, I know it sounds like a silly question, but it's interesting. You know what? I do think it's interesting, Weston. And I don't think it's quite as silly as maybe you think. Maybe we're not looking at something that'll happen in the next 5 years, but maybe in the next 10 to 15, maybe it does. And I don't think we're talking about complete replacement, but something gradual where, you see a sport, it starts to gain some popularity where the athletes are robots or some sort of simulation or some sort of computer program that has to be maintained and managed and that sort of thing. I can see something like that, especially when we're talking about violent sports, right? Because the more we learn about concussions and head injuries, people still have a appetite for the combat and the gladiator type competition. So one of the ways that I've always thought you could satiate the two ends is to have it go as brutal as possible. But if you're not using actual human beings, then maybe you got the best of both worlds. People get to kind of live out their desire or whatever to see the violent activity, sports or whatever, the collision sports, but they don't have to worry about human beings actually being physically damaged by it. So I don't know how crazy it is, and I also don't know how close it is to happening, but I don't think it's crazy at all. The next question comes from Brock Lesnar. And he says he wants me to know his actual first name is Brock, but he really likes Brock Lesnar. So he says, if you could remaster any sports game, what would it be? That's a tough question, but I think I'd have to settle down on College Hoops 2K8. And I would only want to remaster it if they're going to give you opportunity to, they're going to reopen their servers and give you an opportunity to deal with the rosters, and then have some sort of hookup where you could export draft classes into NBA 2K. To me, that would be the ultimate remaster and the ultimate game to remaster if you could do that. I think that would be, that'd be sweet. All right, our next question comes from Victor Daniel Torres, and Victor Daniel Torres says, in your opinion, could you see anything like what Leicester City did last season for this season before the NFL? Honestly, it might. Nah, no, not going all the way. That's the thing, because like I could see a team like who? Let me think. The Browns shocking people and going to the postseason. A team like the Houston Texans shocking people and winning the division, and winning them winning the division wouldn't even be that big of a shock, but maybe like finishing 12-4 and getting a bye or something like that because their division isn't all that tough. But going all the way, like Leicester City, nah, I don't know about going all the way. I think that's a whole different ball game right there. So no, not completing the full out task that Leicester City did. Not the whole thing. All right, the next question comes from Simon Torvey Sunland, and he says, would you consider returning with video reviews for the upcoming batch of sports games? I actually kind of answered that a little bit, Simon, just earlier in this show, because I do have a video review of Madden coming out, and there was something that I planned on getting back to. So your question was pretty timely in that standpoint. But yeah, video reviews take a little bit for sure. And sometimes I have a tendency to kind of read off of my written review because it's really, obviously I wrote it, so it's the same thing. And then some people don't actually have to make the connection, and they come in the comments and go, you copied this off of Bleacher Report, or you copied this out of whatever. I'm like, bro, I didn't copy it, I wrote it. So I'm just reading it back to you. But, it is what it is. Yeah, I am going to be doing that. I don't know if I'll do a video review for F1 2016 or Formula 1 2016, maybe. We'll see. But as you mentioned, there are 445 million sports video games coming out between now and October. So it's going to be a lot. So we'll see what happens. I don't know if I'll be doing a video review for all of those. Maybe just the really big ones, All right. Our next question comes from, wait for it, Chicken Be Kicking. And Chicken Be Kicking says, do you like NBA 2K17's new soundtrack? I think the rap songs are a good selection to get you pumped up. It's some of them's all right. The Drake stuff was decent. It was weird. The Jay-Z song they picked is one of the few that I don't really dig all that much. It's okay. And I'm more of an old school hip hop artist. I'm a whole old school hip hop fan, I should say. And so it's okay. I didn't like the alternatives joints at all, or the rock joints at all. I wasn't feeling those at all. And I like quite a bit of alternative music and some rock, and I like some country. But I didn't like none of those joints they put on there. I'm like, I don't know. I can't say I listened to all of them, but the ones that I had never heard, put it like that were on there, I was like, what is this garbage? This is some hot, flaming, boiling garbage. And that stank. That stank. Smell that? No, it was terrible. I didn't like it. I didn't dig it at all. I didn't dig those at all. So we'll see. It's all right. But it really ends up being kind of like moot to me, because I always end up turning the music down anyway, because it hurts the videos. Because if somebody's song is playing, then you get a copyright strike. So I only listen to the soundtrack maybe for the first 2 hours, and then I'm turning that joint off, if it even lasts up that long. All right, the next question comes from Chicken Be Kicking. And he says, if he played in the NBA, could Oscar Schmidt have been the GOAT or top 10? GOAT or top 10? No, I don't think so. Could he have been a legit scorer? I absolutely think so. If anybody's ever seen Oscar Schmidt play, they know this dude could just flat put the ball in the hole. He could score, and he could score on just about anybody. He wasn't a great athlete or anything like that, but he had that in-between game that I'm going to get my shot off and, let me work in the post in the medium range and let me pop out. He could shoot the ball, and I believe he could, ultimately end up being a dude that had three-point range too. Yeah, I definitely think he could score, not go to top 10, but I definitely think he could have been a legit scorer in the NBA had he had chosen to come, because he did have an opportunity, but he was in a situation where it was like, I am the man here in Brazil, or I'm the man where I play. And I don't want to come over here and basically probably felt insulted by what the NBA would have wanted him to go through at that time. It wasn't like it is now or in the last 10 or 15 years where European players are going to get mad love if they have the talent. It just wasn't that way at that time. So the next question comes from Shamar. And Shamar says, has there ever been an NBA player who you had high hopes for, but then ended up being a disappointment? Yeah, I mean, that happens a lot. I mean, you know, that definitely happens a lot. Guys you swear are going to be this or going to be that, and for whatever reason, it doesn't work out. Sometimes it's their own doing. Sometimes it's injury. You know, I thought Jay Williams was going to be a really good player, and I do believe he probably would have been had he not hurt himself on the motorcycle. I thought Isaiah Ryder was going to be just a really awesome scoring two guard, and he was okay. But his own lack of maturity, and you know, I think he'd even tell you that kind of cost him. Anthony Hardaway was a absolute monster until he got hurt and injuries took just a toll on him. Grant Hill you guys have probably heard me say this before. Grant Hill does not get hurt. He's in the same conversation with Kobe, LeBron, and all of those guys. You know, he was that good. So yeah, those guys there, I mean, for sure. Let's see. We got our next question comes from Nightwing. And Nightwing says, what did he say? I'm going to tell you. It ain't a secret. He says, what if NBA Live created an app that you can scan your body and face in one single app? Now, I think conceptually that sounds good, but I don't know if we want guys and girls standing up. Well, you know, the girl part, the women part, that might be not so bad. But, you know, people standing up for me personally, scanning up their whole body, that might be people. Now somebody want to share. Look, you already know what's going to happen. People going to be posting to Twitter and Instagram and Snapchat and here, check out my body scan, dog. I'm doing my body scan. Look at this here. I'm doing my body scan. I mean, I don't need that in my life. I really don't. You know, I think it could be. I think where you're going is people having different body types in the games, which is something we all miss or need. But I'm worried about like what you got to have on when you do your body scan. Like you know, you got to be naked. You got to have nothing but your shouts, some shouts, some tight pants. You have on some tight pants. Why you do it? You know, I don't know. I don't want to put on no tight pants and scan my body. And I don't want to put no shorts on. And see, when you talking about little bitty clothing, you got to change the way you say shorts. You don't say shorts, you say shouts. And if you're talking about some little bitty pants and they tight, you don't say pants, you say pants. So some little pants on. I ain't, you know, I'm not finna stand up there in no little pants scanning my body. That's just that's not what I want to do. So, you know, you can wear your little pants, but I'm gonna not wear mine. So yeah. So at any rate, you see, so I don't know that. I don't know how I feel about that, Nightwing. I really don't. See, our next question comes from Von Resper Jr. And Von Resper Jr. says, buy or sell Kevin Durant or Dominique Wilkins. Now, at first mention, a person might be like, what? Kevin Durant all day. Okay, I hear you. But let's say this. Say Kevin Durant never wins an NBA championship. Right. And I know everybody think it's so automatic because it's in Golden State, but say he never wins a championship. And then we go back and we look at the numbers for Durant and we look at the numbers for Dominique Wilkins. Will there really be a huge difference? If y'all don't know, Dominique Wilkins was 28, 29, 27, 30 a game, like for run that joint 25 and up, run that for 8 to 10 years. He was a scoring machine. So, and he was a really very much an underrated rebounder. Now, he wasn't a great defender, but Durant's not a great defender either. He can be when he wants to be, but consistently he's not. I think Durant's a better ball handler and he's a better passer, more willing passer too, even though Durant can get a little bit stuck on shooting as well. But I don't know how crazy that is. Assuming Durant wins a championship, I think that separates him from Neek. But without a championship, their careers look very similar. A lot of scoring and not any rings. So I don't know. And Neek was a baller. People People sleep on Neek a lot, you know, but Neek was a straight baller for real. All right, the next question comes from my man Tabud, and Tabud says, "Do you not think 2K needs to remake Jordan's model? His face has too much. I don't know what I got in my hand by the structure, but the structure to me around the eye area. Too much by the structure to me around the eye area. That's my fault. I had a hand in the middle of the thing there a little bit. And so I'm gonna show you what Tab Bud is talking about. So this is what we're talking about. This does look like drunk Mike a little bit. I ain't gonna lie. This is like drunk Mike. Mike just drunk out his mind. I don't know. They just won the gold medal, and he got some Barcelona whiskey or something. I don't know, but yeah, it's a little weird. It's a little weird. And he got a teeth issue there going on in the middle there. So I understand what you're saying, Ty. I'm not gonna leave you out there like, you know, like I don't see it. You know, I feel you. I feel you. It's a little funny style, Mike, but it ain't that bad, you know. But you know what I don't understand though? It almost feels to me like they haven't really actually scanned Mike, because to me, I feel like if they scan Mike now and then just contour the face a little bit to make him look younger and virtually Botox some of them old man wrinkles in the face. I don't know, but think about it like this. I'm almost wanting to say I don't think they've ever scanned Mike, because think about it. Have you ever seen any media, any video, any Instagram photo? Well, they just got the Instagram account, but any Twitter pictures, anything like that of Mike sitting in the chair getting scanned? Never. I don't think he's ever been scanned. And now I don't know that for a fact, but I'm believing that he hasn't, judging by that render. That render looks like a talented artist attempt to capture him, and not a real deal scan. And I would at least scan him, right? And if he can find a time in his schedule between golfing and the Charlotte Hornets and whatever else he does, and shoes, just come on, sit down, Mike, or take the rig to wherever Mike at. Have him sit down, scan. Do you know how viral that would go if a picture of Mike being scanned was sent out? I mean, that would blow up. You know what I'm saying? Then just like I said, fix him up. You know what I'm saying? Hook him up. You know, do the thing with his face, and then, you know what I mean. That would be amazing. So I think that's something that should actually go down. All right, let's see what we got on this next question. We going hip hop on this one, man. And my man Simmons 12A Sullivan came with that real. He came with that real. He says, how much of a cultural / societal impact did Public Enemy have? And he puts on here their greatest album, which is one of probably the 4 or 5 greatest. Many people will say it's the greatest hip hop album ever. Hip hop LP, whatever you guys want to call it today. Back in the day, we called it album, whatever. It takes a nation of millions to hold. It takes a nation of millions to hold us back is the definition of a hip hop classic. And as a group, for people who don't know, see, a lot of people, their only understanding of Public Enemy is Flavor Flav and the reality show he had, The Flavor of Love. That's like all some of the younger people even know. They ain't even like. I remember. I think my son told me, he say, I ain't even know Flavor Flav used to rap. I said, well, he didn't really rap too much, really. He was more just like the hype man in the back. But I'm like, you know who Chuck D is? He's like, no, who is that? I'm like, oh, Jesus, help me today. Lord Jesus, help me today. Chuck D, if we're just talking about pure voice, I'm not talking about lyrics, or I'm not talking about, not even necessarily talking about, not even so much talking about delivery, but just on the pure voice. Chuck D has the greatest pure voice in hip hop history. When he says something, he could be lying through his teeth, not calling him a lie, but this is the power of his voice. It just sounds legit. It just sounds like something you should be taking heed to, right? So they were one of the first ever truly conscious hip hop groups talking about social issues, talking about the plight of the African-American male, African-American period, in the inner city, their place in society overall. They were never for everybody, though. You know what I'm saying? They were not the type of group that everybody's gonna like this music, because if you wasn't trying to hear nothing quote unquote conscious, then you probably didn't dig Public Enemy. But everybody had felt, so you've heard somebody say "Fight the Power," and now there was a song by the Isley Brothers back before Public Enemy called "Fight the Power," and you know, obviously Chuck and them were inspired by that. But most people you hear saying that term right now, it came from Public Enemy, whether or not they realize it or not. You know, bring the noise. That term, if you hear people say it now, it came from Public Enemy. You know, in my opinion, the best song on that album, if you haven't heard it, you want to listen to it, and it's a close second to it is Rebel Without a Pause. Rebel Without a Pause is amazing. But it's called Black Steel, An Hour of Chaos. The video was sick. I mean, Chuck is in jail, like he's in a prison, and it's basically, the song is about inciting a prison riot and leaving the prison because the people are being oppressed and people are there that they aren't supposed to be there or whatever. And I don't know if you guys have ever heard it. If you've never heard it, the beginning of it says, "I got a letter from the government the other day. I opened and read it. It said they were suckers. They wanted me for their army or whatever." Picture. Y'all know, if you really love hip hop, then y'all probably at home rapping right now. If you really know, if you know this music, you know the history of this music, then you probably rapping right now. You know what I mean? So their impact socially and culturally is really immeasurable, to be quite honest. It really is. It's just, they're that big of a deal. They're as big of a hip hop legend as Run DMC, as Jay-Z, as KRS-One, as Rakim, as many of the younger people would think that Lil Wayne is. You know, they're like, if you know, they always talk about Mount Rushmore of different things. Public Enemy is on the Mount Rushmore of hip hop, absolutely. So yeah, it's immeasurable, to be quite honest. Okay, the next and last question of the episode comes from Joe, the Bulls fan. And Joe, the Bulls fan, says, "Do you reckon the wait will be worth it for NBA 2K17? And where do you see the Knicks in the 2017 NBA season going?" You wrap two of them up together pretty decent, Joe. And I know you probably a Rose fan, which is the reason why you're asking about the Knicks. But I don't, honestly, man, I really don't know about NBA 2K17. I really don't know. I'm not panicking the way other people are panicking because they haven't seen enough stuff. I'm not panicking on it yet. I realize that they've pushed up the release date, but that doesn't necessarily mean that all of the release of information has been accelerated. And I don't necessarily think that means that the game's not going to be good either. So I got to wait and see. But I am I'm like, okay, I don't know what's going on. I'm just going to chill. What I'm not sure is, I'm not sure if accelerating the release date is going to hurt the product. That's what I'm not sure about. So that's the only thing I'm a little bit nervous about, you know, because if you take development time away from a team, it's hard not to see some breakage. So I'm just a little nervous about that. The dudes, they are talented and they usually deliver a good product, but time is time. You know what I'm saying? Time is time. So we'll see what happens. And he said, where do I see the Knicks going? I really think the Knicks, if they stayed healthy, the Knicks have an opportunity to finish anywhere from 2 to 6, 2 to 7 in the East, if they stayed healthy and things fall in place. Because I believe that Derrick Rose is going to have an all-star season. He has every piece of motivation to do it. Contract year, he's mad. He's probably as healthy as he's been since he originally hurt himself. So there's every reason to do that. Melo is older, wiser, and willing to sacrifice. Noah staying healthy is a big deal. Kristaps Porzingis is a superstar waiting to happen. And they got a couple other intriguing international players. So we'll see what goes on. But I do think they could go anywhere from 2 to 6, 2 to 7, but I definitely see them as a playoff team unless injuries just tear them to pieces. So that's all I got for you guys this week on Ask FP. I appreciate you watching as always. God bless. Peace.